Yo, what's happening, Ann Murphy?
How you doing?
I'm good. I am. I'm also going to stream this live on my TikTok, because why not?
Why not? Exactly.
I mean, assuming you're cool with that.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes. I was just watching a couple of your TikToks with that very tasteful shirt that you're wearing.
Yes, I made TikToks for the first time in I don't know 3 weeks. I haven't been posting shit there. So
I know you've been kind of recalibrating. I think
I have been recombobulating.
Recombobulating. That sounds exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. So for those of you on the TikTok channel, we got 9 minutes. I'm going live with Ann Murphy, who's in the little window there. Maybe I should make Ann bigger and me smaller.
I don't know about that.
You look more AE.
Oh, what? Are you on your channel? I want to watch.
I'm on my TikTok channel. You can watch you interviewing me streaming live on my thing where I'm talking to people while I'm talking to you. It's very meta.
It is so meta. Oh my god, I kind of love this though. I'm gonna watch it.
Okay, I gotta lower this a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, there we go. So now I can actually see.
Oh my gosh, everybody, it's an Source Camp. Will you guys at least go on LinkedIn and say hi in the chat so that it looks like we have friends?
Yeah, go on, watch the stream on LinkedIn, because when you comment there, you can see them, man, right? You can see the chats
here
in the
we
thing.
can all see them. And then we can...
Do you like Restream?
Me? No, I don't like any of these third-party streaming apps. They're horrible.
I know, they're all bad.
They're horrible.
I thought maybe you found a secret. It's good. It's good to know everything's still janky.
Everything is. I taught my boot camp participants janky piece of shit today. I was like, okay, here I need to introduce you to a term.
It's a technical term.
Okay, so let me see.
All right, let me get this camera going correctly. Wait, how am I going to do this? Hang on. Hold on, people. So people on TikTok, you're basically just tagging along for the ride. I am, oops. Let's see, how are we going to do this? I thought this will work.
But I will say this, Kyle, Restream just got a huge upgrade. And so the options inside it's way better, but there are just some things with all of them that are just, like, first of all, why do we have to go through 15 different steps? Well, it's also LinkedIn. Like, they make it so hard to stream into LinkedIn.
I know. It's ridiculous.
If you're not willing to dick around with this, like...
Yeah, and it's in LinkedIn's interest to have people dumping content onto their platform, you know?
I know. What am I doing here?
I don't know. You're the host.
What is happening?
I'm just following your lead. If you,
what is going on?
So for those of you on TikTok, this isn't live yet. We've still got 6 minutes before it'll be live on LinkedIn.
What's going on? So they invented this thing called scenes.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to be in charge of them.
Don?
Yeah, no, I already texted him and my monitors won't work. He's like, I'm at Walmart. I'm like, Walmart is 4 minutes away. You can come here right now.
If you loved me, you would come home right now.
I was
put your creamed corn back and get home.
Put it down, step away from the gummy nerd clusters. Okay. Let's see here.
Gummy nerd clusters are delicious. Let's be honest.
Oh my god, why did they make those so delicious?
They're so bad. They're so bad.
They're so bad. They're so good. I love to hate myself.
You know, there's that research where they said Skittles are the worst food to eat, bar none. I think those nerd gummy clusters have to be worse than Skittles.
They have to be.
Because they're too good.
They're so good.
They're too good.
They're so good. This morning I was telling some people we were having Okay, so it started with conversation about that lawsuit that was in the news today about the parents of the kid in Massachusetts who now his prospects of going to an Ivy League school are dashed because he got busted using AI, but maybe he wasn't using AI. And so then that led to a conversation about AI detectors. And so that led to me telling everybody about the talent crush that I have on Ethan Mollick. And
it's a great way to put it, the talent crush. I've sort of got that too. I'm like, am I jealous of him or just totally captivated? And I can't figure out which one it is.
Exactly, I'm totally captivated. Like, I swear he could tell me to jump off a bridge, and he is the one I might actually do it. And then I was like, he's not exactly my type, which is good news for me and my husband. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. And I was texting Donnie. I was like, my neck is hot. Can you bring me a hair clip? I'm like, I don't know if Ethan Mollick would bring me a hair clip.
Exactly.
So he's out.
He'd be too busy intellectual,izing and reading research. He wouldn't take care of you, Anne. I think you're in good shape.
Not the way I've become accustomed to. We'll put it that way.
Exactly. For the TikTokers, it's still 3 minutes until the LinkedIn live stream starts. That's why you can't do it. So Anne will let you in at the appropriate time.
Oh, you know what I'll do?
Oh, do you want to talk about anything before we go?
Yeah, we should. Hold on 1 second. I've got something cool that I can do. Design. I've got some kind of like something cool that I can put up.
Oh yeah, look at that. My mic is muted during the countdown. All right, there's your timer, people. There's your timer, people. Meetings are done for the day. I'll join and watch on LinkedIn. Very nice, Jim Ross. Good to see you.
Okay. So, what do we want to talk about? Do you have anything that you want to talk about other than just regular banter and digital twins? Like any particular lead in that you want me to do for you?
I think it's a little esoteric. I mean, I think the thing that's striking me, the video that I put up on on TikTok today about that, I feel like AI has risen above the tools, and that and that it's like almost any tool you pick is going to give you some version of remarkable, and they're all essentially the same thing. You use your words and ask for what you want, and it gives it to you, and so what it does for me is it sort of elevates the conversation to like, why are we doing this? What are we doing? So for me, I mean, I think because you and I have such a long history in this, if there's anything around, just sort of where are you today versus where we were before, we can vamp on that. But I don't want it to take away from the twin discussion because that's big and hairy too. So I'm happy to go either way you want.
Okay. Let's be sure that you have the opportunity to talk about the AI Salon, though, because I want people to know that they have places to go. Like, I have seen a whole new wave recently of people who don't know where to start, people who have never made a custom GPT or never even heard of them or have heard of them. The digital twin thing is like blowing people's minds. There's been more people asking me stuff like, is it too late to learn? So I want them to know about the AI Salon. I'll tell them about our incubator, but that's, a niche.
I'm trying to figure out, can I edit my little name?
Yes, you should be able to how do you do that?
Donate more.
I wonder if you... let me see here.
Plus. No.
It's got to be hanging around here somewhere.
Settings. You'd think it would be in settings. It's not. Oh, sorry. It's 4. It's fine.
Okay.
I was just going to put a URL in my name, but that's all right.
We'll drop it into the chat.
Okay, there you go. The Salon.ai is the URL for that.
The Salon.ai. So, you know that you and I have we have a private chat over in the lower left. And then the LinkedIn chat is over on the right. Oh, hi, Rick. The LinkedIn chat is over on the right. If you touch that little, hopefully it shows this way on yours.
I don't have the ability to comment or edit. I don't see the chats.
You don't?
No.
Loser. Okay, I will be sure to add. I'm going to just drop it in here right away.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to put you backstage for a sec, and then I'll bring you up in a minute, okay?
Great.
Let me see. How do I do that? Let me figure out how I do that with you. I don't actually know. There we go. Okay, let's go live. Actually, let me do this. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. I still don't know how this works.
I love Ann Murphy.
Okay, I'm going to go live. Don't laugh at me. Hey everybody, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. We have a special show today, and I'm really excited to introduce you to my friend, Kyle Shannon, in just a minute. For those of you who haven't been here before, this is the AI Empowered Fundraiser show. I'm Ann Murphy. We are just continuing in our series of we don't know what we are doing here in AI, in making a live cast, in showing up on camera and talking about things that we are barely, sort of beginning to wrap our arms around. And that is like what the vibe of our extended community is, that it's totally okay. And you are most welcome to show up as the hot, messy human that you are, being in a beginner's mindset, doing things with AI that you aren't supposed to know how to do. No one woke up one day and was like, oh, I know how to write a prompt, or I know how to test the user interfaces of 5 different frontier models, or remember like 8,000 or something new AI platforms that are out there. All of us in this space, no matter how much you know, we are all on a journey as a beginner compared to others. What my friend Kyle, who's coming on in a second, what he taught me is that when you can be the 5th grader to the 4th graders in this space, that's when you are ready to go. That's when you are ready for prime time. That's when you can start teaching other people how to use the tools. And he was way more than a 5th grader to the 4th graders when I started learning from him. I'm excited to introduce you to him and invite you and encourage you to spend time with him. He shows up on TikTok almost every single night for the past, I'm going to guess it's like maybe 380, 390 days or something at this point. It's a lot of days. And he's there almost every single night, teaching all of us how to use the tools and also making it super fun. And we've all become friends, and we've all joined this community called the AI Salon, where you will meet other beginners, other people who are aspiring, moving in the direction of moving away from being a beginner, but none of us show up thinking or fronting that we are experts in this space. And so I'm, like I said, really happy I just dropped the URL. Who disses everyone? I just dropped the URL into the chat. So that's how you'll find Kyle and his friend Leah Faston's community called the AI Salon, and you'll find a whole bunch of really, really nice people there. Before I bring Kyle on, I wanted to highlight a little bit of what we're doing in the AI Empowered Fundraiser world. One of the things that Kyle and I talk about a lot is how important community is. And I always like to say that the three things that you need to be, quote unquote, good at AI are a curious mind, a willingness to be vulnerable, and community. And what I've found over time is that even better than community is friendships. And so along my AI journey, I met a lot of women who were really interested in building relationships around AI. And sometimes it's just like AI is this foil character, and what we're really doing is repotting ourselves, right? Trying new things together, like becoming more of who we always thought we would be, looking for opportunities to step into leadership roles. Like being a leader in the AI space is an incredibly profound role that you can play in society right now. And this group, our incubator membership community, is a bunch of women who are leading the way in AI. We are all friends. We connect on Mighty Networks all day, all night. We have special events. We're talking about a book club. We're talking about a podcast. We would love to have you in there, or at least check it out. So there's a QR code in the corner there. If you put your camera at it and take a picture, or put your camera at it and press the little button that pops up, you'll be able to explore the incubator, and we would love to chat with you if you have any questions. So I wanted to let you know that that exists. And now I am going to bring on no one other than, well, first let me do this. Stop screen sharing. I bring you my friend and soon to be yours, Kyle Shannon.
Hey, Murphy. What's happening?
So everybody who, if you don't know Kyle, this is Kyle, and like prepare now that you know Kyle, you'll see him everywhere. It's one of those things. Now that you know him, you're going to see him everywhere, and that is a really good thing for your life. So while we have him on here, I'm going to embarrass him a little bit. So,
oh boy.
Kyle.
First of all, I loved your intro, and I enter as the enthusiastically clueless. So take it from there.
There we go. Yes, we are the enthusiastically clueless, and I think one of the things that really drew me to Kyle and learning from him early on was just that sense of nobody's trying to say here in this community. Nobody's trying to act like we know what the hell is going on and we've got all the answers, and we're literally learning together. I have watched Kyle figure stuff out in the moment, hours and hours and hours of my life, and I've learned so much in that process. So first I want to say thank you for being willing to show up like half-baked, right? You're not saying like, I'm ready, I'm the leader of the leaders, I know all the things, and you have the chops, you have the experience, you could be like that, but you're not, and it allows all of us to show up and learn as well.
I could, note to self, I'll try to be douchier in the future, but no, it's just like, I feel in a lot of ways less capable than I ever have, because the tools are evolving and getting so capable that my ability to understand what to do with them is actually going down. But yeah, I think it's just I think it's more fun to be in a beginner's mindset, but I actually think it's actually critical for where we are with AI right now. So thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, say more about the beginner's mindset. What does that mean to you?
Well, be willing to be in that uncomfortable place where that internal voice in your head is going, "You're just a big fat dum-dum." like let yourself just be the dum-dum. Like I don't know. For me personally, the way I sort of operate is, I love figuring stuff out, and I kind of hate being in that place where I can't figure it out. And I happen to have a brain that's good at figuring out things fast. This AI stuff is a completely different way of using a computer. Like, with traditional computing, it's programmed, it's deterministic, where you put in an input and you get back a predictable output. AI is not that. AI is, you kind of say your words, right? I think of like training a toddler. Okay, say your words. Do you want cake? Say you want cake. And I feel like that's kind of like where we are with AI. And you say, I want cake, and then it gives you back something that may or may not be what you want. And people that go into that place of wanting to figure it out and wanting to have it be predictable, I watch them, I witness them being increasingly frustrated because it doesn't quite give them what they want. And then those people that are just like, well, let me see what I get. And I'll come in here and I'll just ask it for what I want. And it gives me that. And then they go, well, that's not what I wanted, but that's kind of cool. And then they're willing to expand on that or iterate on that. They tend to be much more, happy, for one thing, like less frustrated. But they also tend to do really remarkable work because the difference between, say, what we used to do with Google, which was put in a single prompt and get back, your search results, AI is much more like a conversation. And it really is like having a conversation with, the most educated, clueless intern you've ever hired, right? Where it knows lots of stuff, but it doesn't know anything about you or what you're trying to accomplish. And the minute you sort of flipped your mindset into, oh, it's like someone I have to get up to speed on things, but once I do that, it gives me remarkable results. That's kind of it. So for me, that's a beginner's mindset where our ability to be masters of these tools, I don't think is ever going to really exist. I think it's going to be an ongoing conversation with tools that are just increasingly capable, and that intern at some point is going to be more like a first year graduate, and then it's going to be like a someone with a 10-year employment history, and then at some point they're just going to be way better than us on all levels and everything, and we just got to humble it up.
We got to humble it up. When you play charades, right, and you're the person who's acting the thing out and nobody can guess what you're acting out, it's like, well, who's the dummy? Is it the person the person who's acting it out and doing a horrible job? Like, you're like this, and they're like, and you're like, it's a sailboat, obviously. And they're like, I thought it was an orange or a blueberry. It's not their fault. It's not your fault, right? Yep. But that's like talking to ChatGPT, where you learn for yourself, like, oh, if I go like this, they're gonna know that it's a sailboat, not a blueberry. If I go like that, we're totally gonna run aground.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dance, right?
It's a bit of a dance,
and that's not. I mean, you and I are of an age, like we've been around really since the dawn of personal computers. They've always behaved a certain way. And with this AI stuff, they don't behave that way. So like we're not used to dancing with them. And the new advanced voice from ChatGPT, it can understand your emotions as well as your words, and it can respond in kind. And we're not used to computers actually acting like the stuff that was always in science fiction movies when we grew up, and this is something that we're going to have to learn how to interact with, and it's not learn it like we used to learn it.
No, it's not learn it like we used to learn it. So today we're working. I have one of our AI boot camps is going on right now. My friend Rachel Kimber and I are running it, and today we were working on a fundraising initiative, and our project was to come up with some messaging, but kind of working against a couple of different personas. So like the old, retired engineering guy, the Gen Z, startup, whatever, and testing our messaging against them. Mm-hmm. And when I set up this exercise, my goal was really very, output oriented. Let's be sure that we have messaging that's going to work. And what I realized halfway through it was that's not actually the exercise. The exercise is having it not work well. Watching everybody try one thing and then try another thing.
Yep.
Much more important to kind of like roll up your sleeves. Well, play first, like we talk about in the AI Salon. Everyone we're thinking about efficiency, right? I think AI gets kind of like a little bit oversold on the efficiency front. than some of the quality and the creativity and stuff. But let's say we're using it to be super efficient and we're thinking about, we're here, we want this outcome. We haven't made time and space to play. Mm-hmm. So what we were all, talking about was, how do you find time in your life just to play with AI? Mm-hmm. And I shared with all of them, like all of your peeps in the AI salon, we just don't sleep as much as we used to.
That's a possibility. There's another piece of it though. One of the my relationship to AI as an efficiency tool transformed probably about a year ago. Because the first thing I did when I started playing with AI, I was like, oh, I can make the stuff I do at work more efficient. And at some point it hit me that thinking of AI just as making the stuff that you do today more efficient is actually dramatically limiting, because all you're thinking about is, here's what I do today and I want to make that more efficient. That's how we've historically thought of computers, right? It's this machine that's going to do something for me. So here's what I do today. I want to make that more efficient. What struck me was part of how we got to play first is that if you say, okay, well, this is what I do today, but we now have the possibility of saying, what if that weren't the best way to do things? What if we could do things completely different? So rather than making this thing more efficient, what if there's something completely different we could do? The only way you can really get to that is to essentially drop your expectations entirely, right? Just put your expectations to the side and say, okay, I'm going to go do something ridiculous here. So let's say you want to work on, I'll do something really extreme. Let's say you've got an email process that you want to make more efficient. You know, how you would typically do that is you'd figure out the process, you'd go to Zapier, you'd figure out which parts go to OpenAI. Well, what if you took that same time you were going to do that and you went to Suno and you said, I want to write a song about how to do emails? That doesn't make any sense at all. It makes, right? And then what'll happen is it'll write a song about emails that will give you an idea of like, wait a minute, maybe I should actually send songs to my clients instead of these shitty update emails. And that's Jim Ross, who I think is watching on the stream. He manages self-storage units, and I would call him AI native. Like he tries to think first about using AI to solve his problems, and he's just really adventurous. He does something for his business with AI an hour a day every morning, which I think is amazing. And one night on the TikTok lives, I was saying, here's how you make a song, and Jim was just like, well, I've got a client I just met with a couple of hours ago. Why don't I just make them a song about their business? And he did, and he closed the business within 5 minutes, right? Yeah. That's not something that makes sense, right? It doesn't make any sense. And yet, if you do that, it will open up all sorts of other avenues, and you will learn the tools in a way that you're going to be able to go back to that, that efficiency project that you had with a completely different mindset. So for me, that kind of goes back to the beginner mindset, just being, don't be tied to outcomes as much as we were historically.
Absolutely. And think about it as an opportunity, like have it in the back of your mind all the time that this might be an opportunity to break what's already broken. For example, your email newsletter that you're trying to automate probably sucks anyway. Like, all of them do. All of ours do. I have one. It kind of sucks. Like, I mean, it's good. But it's still an email newsletter, and there are 85,000 of them in my inbox right now that I haven't read.
Yep.
And so when you have the attitude, the approach of like, let's break what's already broken, and you get a wild hair, or you've like been on the AI salon, you're like, what was the name of that thing? Was it Suno? Was it Clug? Was it Krita?
Exactly.
Was it Kling? Was it
Hail? Yeah, exactly.
What was it? And you may get it wrong, and all of a sudden you're in a different AI application.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden you're like, ooh, maybe I should be sending songs to my clients rather than another same newsletter that I've been sending them for the last 3 or 4 years. So there's so much room for creativity. I've learned so much about like my own journey about how creative I actually am. Yeah. I never, ever thought of myself as a creative. And that's one of the things that, that we've talked about is like, how do you kind of step into what you're learning about yourself that may have been there forever, but you just didn't have a way to uncover it.
That strikes me. When I was doing, I was the chief creative officer and the co-founder of an early digital agency in the 90s called Agency.com. And at one point we started to have some cultural problems where the creatives, the ones that were called, creatives, were like, well, we're creative and everyone else is not creative. And the fact of the matter was that the account people were creative in how they engaged with clients, and the project managers were creative in how they did project management. And one of the things that we distinguished that made a big difference was there's a very big difference between the creative process and the creative product. So the creative product is like, I make pictures, right? So maybe you're not good at pictures, Anne. Maybe you're not good at drawing, right? Maybe you're not even good at design, but you're really good at the creative process. And what happens with AI now is you now have tools that allow you to be way more creative, especially in terms of the creative product, but you've always been creative, right? And so what this is doing is kind of connecting those two worlds. And I think that's incredibly powerful. The newsletter that you just mentioned, I just had an epiphany today. So one thing I've been pretty good at over the past, year or so, is I'll have an idea for an article and I'll put the article out there and I go, oh, I should make an image for the article, right? Which historically I would never have done that. It would have been just words. Right. So if your newsletter is just words, maybe think about putting pictures in it. And then the thing that struck me today, I applied for the creators program for some new video tool. And I thought, wait, why am I just putting pictures in my LinkedIn articles? I should have video in there. We've got these amazing new video tools, right? So historically, you would never have necessarily thought about original artwork for a newsletter. Well, now maybe you could start to think about original video that goes with your article. Why? If nothing else, people will look at it, right? People like moving pictures. So anyway.
So, first of all, I have to tell you, I want to move into a little bit of the existential, which will include our conversation about digital twins. But
Great.
Here's the jumping off point. I wanted you to take a second to talk a little bit about your backstory and what you're up to right now, and Storyvine and the Salon, and kind of where you're going with some of your content. But I'll kick it off by saying that so for folks who are here, we're also streaming to Kyle's TikTok channel, which
true.
Is probably going to soon be 24/7. And I was watching the comments as one does, and a minute ago somebody said, "Are you retired or is this the job?" So Kyle.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Describe your job right now. What would you say your job is?
Storyvine. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Storyvine. So I'm running Storyvine. I tend not to do. One of the reasons I go live at TikTok at night is because that's what I do when I go home. So if I'm doing a podcast or something like this, that invades in the day. So I've got that as my day job. A big part of, Storyvine is an automated video storytelling platform. We've been around for 12 and a half years. We do a lot of work in the healthcare and pharma space. The core platform itself, let's call it Storyvine 1.0, didn't actually use a lot of AI. It used more traditional computing, assembly, XML, and just more traditional kind of stuff. Fully automated, right? We have an app that somebody answers questions in an app. It goes up to the cloud. 5 minutes later, you've got a fully edited video. So really powerful platform. But so a little part of my background, I've got a storytelling background. I've got a degree in acting. I moved to New York City out of school, ran a theater company, wrote a bunch of screenplays, just, pursued a life in the arts. And then in the mid-90s, when the World Wide Web, when I stumbled upon this thing called the World Wide Web, it struck me that this is a completely new way to tell stories. And so I started an online magazine, and I started, Agency.com, this early agency, where we built a lot of the websites for the Fortune 500. And what struck me was this is, sort of telling a brand story in this interactive environment. It's still storytelling. Storyvine is that as well, right? It's just a different way to tell stories. And then when AI came out, what hit me square between the eyes, especially, for me, November 30th, 2022 is the turning point, the seminal moment of what I'll call modern AI, the generative AI movement. That date is the date that ChatGPT launched. And ChatGPT, from where I sit, does for AI what the World Wide Web did for the internet. So let me unpack that a bit. The internet had been around for decades and decades, right? All these computers connected together, and the only people that could really use them were scientists and researchers and things like that, because it was a command line computer interface, and you had to know IP addresses, and it was very technical. And the World Wide Web made it just simple as like clicking a hyperlink to be able to jump between these computers. And that's the foundation for all of, sort of modern communications, was that simple innovation. ChatGPT was the first thing that took all this power of machine learning and AI and put it in this simple box where you just ask it for something and it answers it, or gives you the picture or whatever it is. So that became the beginning of it. And for me, having been at the beginning of the World Wide Web and looking at the potential of AI, this era that we're in feels 1,000 times, 10,000 times, 100,000 times more impactful long-term than the World Wide Web was. And we know how transformative that was. So the minute I had that epiphany about AI, like being at the beginning of this new era, I just went all in. So I essentially spend all of my free time just looking at Twitter, looking at these things, just paying attention to it. And one of the reasons that I started the Salon and one of the reasons that I started the TikTok channel was just to keep myself in the conversation on a daily basis. Like that to me is everything, because it's moving so fast that if you're not in the conversation, it's literally accelerating out away from us, even if you're in the conversation, right? And so my typical day just kind of looks like I wake up, I start looking at stuff on the internet, I'll make a TikTok video occasionally, I come and do my work, and then, if news pops up during the day, I'll go look at that and pay attention to it. And then I talk about that at night. And one of the big surprises of the TikTok channel is that the way I had it in my head was, you start a TikTok channel, it's a media channel, and you make content and you have an audience that watches that content. And what it very, very quickly became was this collaborative jam session where people come and hang out, and there's more activity going on in the comments between people than there is between me and the audience, right? It's this really just fluid, amazing just jam session. And for me, that's tremendously exciting, because what it means is people are in there exploring this AI stuff independent of what I'm doing. And that's the whole idea.
It's so true. We are sometimes, you're like the foil character up there, and we're riffing off of sometimes what you're talking about. Sometimes we're making fun of you.
Yeah, exactly.
So
appropriately making fun of me.
It's so easy, Kyle.
That's why I'm there.
But last night, so I'm going to Paris tomorrow, and last night I was like, oh my gosh, I know that I've heard which applications are the best to use for translating in real time. And I was like, of course I can ask ChatGPT, of course I can figure this out. But you know what? It'll take me 8 seconds to just ask somebody in your comments, and within, about 10 seconds, had written back and said, use this. This is how you do it. And I'm like, okay, boom. It's such a wealth of information. And so one of the things that Kyle and I have both learned and seen in action and watched other people grow and blossom is that when you create a container for this kind of relationship building, it gives people something to hold on to. It gives them a little foothold, a reason to talk about AI, or a forum for talking about AI today, after you've worn out your spouses, your kids, your parents, your dogs.
Leave us alone. We don't want to hear about your stupid AI. And
No, I can't handle it anymore. Then you have your new friends, your AI friends.
Your weirdos. Yeah, exactly.
Your weirdos.
Well, and so here's the other thing that there's a couple of reasons why community, I think, become way more important. One is you have a place to connect with other people, but the other one is kind of what you did with Pate there. AI let's just call it generative AI. Even if you're just talking about large language models, the word things, right?
Yeah.
That part of the industry is already bigger than any single person's ability to master it. And so what ends up happening when you're in a community is you'll have some little piece of the puzzle. And what I experience regularly is that people consistently apologize for how little they know. And then they share this little thing that they know that to them is obvious because that's it's who they are, right? Their worldview is they understand whatever it is, like with you fundraising, right? And you share this little thing about fundraising that to the other people in the room are like, oh my God, I never would have thought about it like that. Like all of the people's points of view, I find them, I work hard to get people to not apologize for what they don't know, because it's what they do know that is the thing that's going to break things open for someone else. So that part of it's really, really important.
Yeah. I have seen a transformation among all of us that we have done we've like really moved out of that space of apologizing as much as we used to.
Yeah.
We had somebody in our group today apologizing for something, and we just had this conversation about imposter syndrome. Yeah, exactly. We just hit them a whole bunch. But that this is a time when like showing up and feeling uncomfortable is the work.
It's the work. That's a great way to put it. That just being in that uncomfortable place and doing it anyway is the work, right? That's the definition of bravery, right? Or of courage, taking action in the face of fear. That, you don't know everything. And historically, you had to have a PhD in mathematics to be good at AI. And your fear might be, well, I was never good at math. What you're going to discover is you don't need to be. But you do have to go through that gauntlet of knowing that you can't do it, only to discover that not only can you do it, you might be really, really good at it. You might even be really, really, really good at something you thought you would never in your life be good at. And that's the inspiring thing for me.
It's so inspiring, and it's so addictive that I'm now looking for things that I don't know how to do.
Yeah.
So,
and that's that playful thing, right?
It's so fun. So I'm submitting a proposal for this gig that it's not like way beyond my zone of genius, but it's beyond my zone of genius, right? But I also know I can figure this out. Like I have enough intuition, enough experience using AI tools now that I trust myself, I trust my judgment, that I will be able to leverage the tools at my disposal to do something that I don't have a track record that's proven that I can do the thing anymore. That's what's so exciting about all of us. You were talking about, I wanted to shift into a little bit of the existential space that you've been talking about, like the future of work. That's what's so exciting to me is we are now at the mode where it is imperative that organizational leaders understand that you are not hiring for somebody's track record anymore.
Or their skills. And that's going to seem really counterintuitive if you're on the outside of this AI conversation, because we're not there yet. But like where this is trending, where this is heading, is that the AI tools are getting more and more capable, and they're going to increasingly do the tactical part of your job. And so the thing you went to college for, the thing that you might have been doing for the last 10 or 15 or 30 years, it's going to do. It doesn't mean you don't have value. It's just that particular piece of it now becomes less and less and less required, right?
Yeah. So, yes. So talk a little bit about where your head is at, because a bunch of us, there's been a group of us who I think had been going through a similar kind of reckoning, a rethinking of our path forward, if you will, and what's happening around us and what we want to focus on. And it's been remarkable to me how many of us have been in pretty similar milestones along the way. And one of the things that has come up and that you've been talking about is that, where you're thinking is beyond the tools, that you've done a lot to help us figure out the tools, but like the conversation is actually bigger bigger than that now. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So again, I'll sort of use my experience in the early days of the web as reference, because I'm realizing now it's actually an important reference point. The early days of the World Wide Web, the technology of HTTP and HTML was actually quite simple. And there was a lot of work that was required to make it ubiquitous, and it evolved and things like that, but it didn't necessarily change all that much. So, for 5 or 6 years, it was really all about the tools. It was like, if you learn the tools and you just, keep up with how things are evolving, you can do it. I mean, that was one of the remarkable things about that, is it democratized this incredibly powerful thing. When generative AI first started, and there was ChatGPT, and then there was Stable Diffusion and Midjourney for images, and there were a couple of music things, but Udio and Suno weren't really out yet and weren't really known. It was a really small set of tools that you needed to know. And then as time went on, there became more and more and more and more. And one of the things that's happened in the past 6 months, maybe this past month, let it go, but the 6 months prior to that was OpenAI kind of stagnated. They said they were going to launch a bunch of stuff and didn't. And what happened was, in that time, a lot of other tools caught up with it. And so all of a sudden, kind of over the course of the summer, all these tools became remarkably capable, and they did all sorts of different things. Like Claude, you can ask it to write a computer application, and it'll write it, and you can just start playing a game that you just created by asking for it. And then Perplexity does this cool research stuff, and OpenAI has all these different modes that you can play. Like, all of the tools just got really sophisticated, and there became so many of them that it essentially became impossible to keep up with it, right? And so part of it was just overwhelm of, like, even if, like, it was my self-declared job. I created this thing called the AI Learning Lab, where I'm going to teach people how to use these tools. And what struck me, and what I've been in a bit of mourning for, I think, is the simplicity of that. That if it were just about the tools, that would be awesome, but it's not. And so there's a couple of things that have happened in the past month or so. The release of advanced voice from ChatGPT, where when you talk with it, you're talking with an entity. Whatever it's doing technically, I don't care. There's always these semantic arguments. Well, it's not really emotional. It's not really this. It doesn't. The impact of talking to it is not like anything we've ever experienced before. The O1 reasoning model that OpenAI just released is this incredibly capable thing that looks kind of like what ChatGPT looked like before, but it's essentially like having a PhD at your fingertips that can do PhD level problem solving at your request. I don't know how to I wouldn't know what to ask a PhD, to say, like, what am I supposed to solve here? Like, I feel like all of a sudden these tools sort of elevated above where my cognitive boundaries were. And what they can do is significantly beyond what I understand I should use computers for.
Yes.
And so then that puts me in a place of, well, first of all, they're only going to get better. So if they're already above that place, like, what's it going to be like when we do hit AGI, artificial general intelligence, or ASI, artificial superintelligence, where these machines are smarter than, the smartest human on the planet, and we've all got, 100,000 genius level agents working on our behalf. What does that world look like? I don't have a clue, right? And so now I'm just in this place of, like, I think we need to start asking questions more like why than how. It's not how do you do this? It's like, wait, well, what am I trying to do? Why would I do this? Like, I don't know, like, what makes me happy? Like, you go into just much more high level existential conversations. And this is one of the things that has been an instinct of mine for a while. And this feels like it's amplifying, is I feel like these tools are going to force us as humans to answer the question, what value do we really serve? Because historically our value was tied to the stuff we did, right? The work product we did, the skills we had. And now it's going to come to, do I make Anne happy? Do I connect with her? Did I make a difference in her life? Do I, right? Are we connecting as humans? Like, I think it counterintuitively, the robots are going to push us to be better people. But that transition is going to be weird and painful and surreal. And so that's what I'm kind of in the middle of, is just this, I don't know, like this primordial soup of, I don't quite know what work looks like. And it still looks like what it looks like today, but not for long.
If you are a coach, a therapist, a psychologist, you're about, like, they are going to be busier than the patent and copyright attorneys.
Absolutely.
Like, we are all flailing about in these communities, having like existential meltdowns. Not like, we can't. This is unfathomably confrontational to our identity.
Yep.
What we think, like how we're oriented, what we do when we wake up in the morning, and we're just trying to help each other out. We don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We need somebody to help us, like, have a framework for how to apply this stuff, because I absolutely agree with you that it's so much more about it's not certainly not about the volume that you're putting out. Like, it's not about, oh, I did this thing and I did a ton of it and that means I am valuable. And it's not going to be what this weirdness that we've had in our society for literally since slavery, of my value is measured by time,
by the hours I put in, right?
How many hours I put in, and
like that little thing right there of, and I've heard people say, I've gotten in arguments over this where they're like, but that only took 10 seconds. Well, okay, does that mean it's less valuable, right? And it's, there's this famous, it was Picasso, I think. Was it Picasso or Van Gogh? I think it was Picasso. Someone said, make a sketch for me, and he made a sketch, and he said, that'll be $1,000,000. And she said, well, it only took you a minute. And he goes, it took me 40 years, to be able to do that in 10 seconds. A lot of, historically, us putting in the 2 hours to write the email was where we measured our personal value and where other people measured the value. And so now if that's just done instantly, the instinct is to go, oh, it's valueless. But it's not. Because it's still us curating it. It's still us choosing what is the stuff we want to present to the world. Like, I think we're all still just as responsible for what we put in the world. How we generate that is, in my opinion, no one's business.
No one's business anymore.
Like, you don't ask me if I use Microsoft Word or if I touch that up in Photoshop. Like, right? It's just like, is it good or not? And if it's not, then just tell me the work's not good. If it's good, then it's none of your business how I made it. So that's part of my philosophy of, did you use AI? Who cares?
Who cares? Definitely, like, decoupling value and time is going to be, I think, one of the biggest pain points that we have, because people are so used to feeling worthy based on putting time into something. And we don't know, by the way, what might be the worst thing that happens initially is if we all do seize the time that is newly available, if we're just trying to do something faster,
right?
And we have, let's just say you have 1 new hour a week. You are faced with what seems like a not very big decision, but is actually a huge decision. What are you going to do with that 1 hour?
What do you do with the hour?
Soon you're going to have 40 hours, right? Or 35 hours. So
well, this is, I'm writing a musical on the weekends. Like, I have a degree in theater. I've never written a musical. I'm not good enough with music to write it, but it's good. Like, it's good.
It's really good.
And it's just like this weekend project, right? And it's like, I'm not taking, 8 hours a day on the weekends. It's like I do an hour here, an hour there, and I'm cranking this out. And that idea of so one of the other things when you were talking about, we're all in these existential dreads. I don't want to make it sound like it's always existential dread negative. It's what I'm finding is that there's these really big oscillations, these emotional oscillations of, oh my God, it's amazing. Oh my God, what do I do with my life? Oh my God, it's amazing. I for the past month and a half, I've been in one of the troughs, right? I've just been in like, what is this? What's it mean? All that sort of stuff. And I saw this LinkedIn post from Allie K. Miller, who talks about, AI stuff. And the opening line of her LinkedIn post was, holy crap, I wrote a whole course this weekend or something like that. And just her starting it with that term, holy crap, was, I realized that if you just play with AI and play with it in your spare time, play with it at work, play with it just mindlessly.
Yes.
What you stumble upon are these holy crap moments that actually run you in completely different directions, like writing a musical. Or it might be something at work that, rather than the 2 hours of automating that email process, I just mess around for 2 hours, but I discover something completely new and have a holy crap moment that's going to be a breakthrough for my business or a breakthrough for me professionally. And so I wrote a piece called the AI and the Holy Crapification of Work, which is sort of the positive other side of this. If you get curious with these tools and really dive in with them, they are increasingly going to surprise you in positive and really powerful ways that may be transformative for your business, your professional life or your personal life, or all three.
All three, all the same. Yes, and I should say that the existential space that a lot of us are in is in part pretty joyous. And kind of like surprising, right? You're like constantly surprised. It's the constant Kevin McAllister moment that we talk about.
Yep.
Okay, so to give the people what we promised, can we talk about digital twins?
Yes.
Teach me first. Dina is saying, what word processor are you using?
Exactly. Yeah.
To write the musical Kyle.
Yeah, exactly. What brand of notepad are you taking your notes on right now, Anne? That's really important for us to know.
So annoying. All right, so talk to us about digital twins. Can you start with what are we talking about?
What the hell is a digital twin?
Yeah.
Yes. So historically, the term digital twin really emerged out of the simulation world. And a digital twin might be, you have a digital twin of a physical object or a system. My friend Richard Boyd has been doing simulation work and 3D work for years and years and years. And one of the digital twins he made for the Defense Department was a digital twin of a nuclear submarine. So it was a fully functional nuclear submarine that people, sailors could go into with, goggles or computer screens, and all of the dials worked, all of the things did the things, and they could basically go in and run a submarine virtually, right? So the history of it is that the digital twins that I've been working on, we kind of stumbled upon. So I'm the chief generative officer for this marketing organization called Content Evolution. And Content Evolution it's basically just a federation of marketing organizations, PR firms, things like that, founded by Kevin Clark, who used to run IBM's global brand. And he basically just said he wanted to retain the relationships of the people that he liked working with. And right, so it's this very collegial group. And one of the challenges of it is, if a business comes to Kevin or to anyone in the organization and says, hey, who should I work with within Content Evolution to do this? Who should I talk to? So this exercise started out as just basically we wanted to create a directory. Like, how do I know who to talk to? And then what we thought about is, maybe we'll make descriptions of the companies, and we can just make a GPT that makes it easy to find them. And then we thought, well, it's not really the companies that are interesting, it's the people that are interesting. And so our initial thing was, well, what if we scraped LinkedIn and we got their LinkedIn profiles, and then we could, search, use ChatGPT to search for who I should talk to. And what struck us was LinkedIn is this really limited view of sort of the historical artifacts of a person, right? They're like their work history. And even that, it might not be complete depending on how much they do, right? And maybe in that is, a link to a book that they've written, but they wrote that book 30 years ago. And so that might not reflect who they are today. So we stumbled upon, in trying to figure out how to use LinkedIn, we stumbled upon this problem of, well, who are they today? Because who they are today is really interesting. And so what's nice about Content Evolution is you got a bunch of smart people in there that are really good at things like, writing structured questions and surveys and things like that. And so Cindy Kuhn was a part of it, and we've got this group called Collab, which is our little AI, skunk works within Content Evolution. And so we decided to design a structured interview that is designed to capture who a person is today. And so it's things like, what's your educational background, what's your work background, all that sort of stuff, right? Like the sort of dog tags. But then it's things like, what was a piece of art that inspired you, in your life? Talk about a failure you've had. So we've got, sections about how do you solve problems, and we've got sections about, what's your worldview and things like that. And so we worked with ChatGPT to come up with the basic framework and reorganize it, and then we manually went in there and tweaked it. And what we've since learned is that structured interview is really important, but the specific one that we made for Content Evolution is essentially irrelevant. Like any sort of structured set of interview, like just think 20 questions and think about it for a use case, because I could write a set of 20 questions to really get to who you are emotionally, Anne, versus who you are as a problem solver.
Yeah.
And so we've learned a couple of things. That structured interview is really important. That answering it by writing answers doesn't work. The GPTs are not good when you do it by writing answers, because how you write words is not how you say words. And very often if you read transcripts of what someone says, you're like, this isn't even English. Like, does this person ever complete a sentence, right? They're two very different worlds. But how you talk really does represent who you are. So what we did is we made an executive decision that anyone we're going to make one of these digital twins for, we have to do a video interview where they're going through and answering these questions. So we have someone being the interviewer, someone being the interviewee. We then take the transcript of that, and that becomes the foundation for a GPT. So the digital twin right now is just a GPT with this interview of who the person is. Then we came upon the problem of, because again, where we started was we need a directory. Like, how do we find people, right? And we said, well, we've got these GPTs where someone could have a virtual conversation with virtual Kyle, and that's kind of cool. And we sort of put them out like, you can have a conversation with virtual Kyle right now. And nobody really cared, right? Because it's like, no one knows what that means. What does it mean to have a conversation with virtual Kyle? So we kind of flipped it upside down and said, well, maybe instead of asking other people to figure out how we would use our digital twins, maybe we should figure out how we use our digital twins. And so where we've kind of gotten to recently is that all of the people within Collab have basically committed to use their digital twins to do things like brainstorming. Like, rather than brainstorming with you, I'm going to brainstorm with the virtual version of me. But I can also brainstorm with the other people within Content Evolution, and I've got access to them 24/7. So we took all these individual GPTs and we put them into a master GPT. So we've now got this little digital community that represents the worldviews of all the people within Content Evolution. And we're using that GPT to write articles on behalf of Content Evolution and even quote the people that are most appropriate to talk on that subject. It's wild. And so every time we do that, Kevin will reach out to the individuals that are quoted and says, is this what you would say? And for the most part, like, I've had one thing where it said the opposite of what I said, but for the most part, it's like, yeah, that's exactly what I would say.
Wow.
And so that idea of, so there's a couple of things here. One is you can make, a digital twin of yourself, but you could also make multiple digital twins of yourself. One could be the professional version of you. One could be the social butterfly. One could be the jokester that just does jokes. One could not even look like you and not have your name, but you want to control it.
Yes.
And then so if you think about the way LLMs work, large language models, the reason they feel human is that we are essentially tapping into the collective intelligence of all of the people that have contributed anything to the internet over the past 70, 80 years, right? And longer than that, right? Because of historical documents that got put on there. So you're literally tapping into all of the people that came before. So the digital twins are actually just a really specific representation of a person who exists in the world, or we've also done these for people who've died. You can also do the same thing for people that have died and put all their works in there, right? And then we're just sort of creating a little sandbox where you can now have interactions with them and you can group them together, and it's absolutely remarkable. It's uncanny how close they are to how people answer questions and solve problems. And as we move into things like, real-time synthesis of faces and voices and things like that, we're going to be able to FaceTime with virtual versions of ourselves. And I think this skill of thinking about how do I, Kyle, want to be represented in the world feels to me like an important skill to learn right now, because we're going to be represented in the world whether we want to be or not. And if you've got some acuity for how to do that with today's janky tools, you're going to be in much better shape when these things get more sophisticated.
There are so many use cases like bouncing around in my brain.
It's crazy.
Right?
It's crazy.
One of the ideas that I have that I like so far, the best of the ones that have been flying around, would be the ability for people to create their own board of directors to help them make decisions. Yes.
Well, in fact, we've talked about that. We're in Content Evolution. One of the things we're talking about is putting together board of directors and executive committee GPT sets. So think about a board of directors. You've got all these important people on this board of directors. You get to meet with them quarterly for an hour or two. You have drinks with them, and you can solve the big problem. What if you had 24/7 access to some version of them?
Yeah.
Right? And same with your executive teams, that 24/7 you could just say, hey team, please all give me your opinion. Like, I'm about to make this decision, and I want you to weigh in, right? And do it from your point of view. If you've got a well-constructed digital twin of those people, you're going to get all sorts of diverse points of view 24/7.
24/7.
Amazing.
All of the folks who wish they had a mentor or wish they had a sponsor, right? They don't have connections to the people where they can just sit around with them and chop it up without fear of saying something dumb, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, now you get to have that, and it's whenever you want, on whatever topic you want, and you're going to get that feedback in a totally safe environment, and access this wisdom that you have no business having, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not on you that you don't have that wisdom yet, or you haven't had that life experience yet, and you get to make the most of all of that.
Yeah, and
let alone the commercial applications. I know we talked about, if you're an author right now and you're publishing a book, man, have a digital twin that goes along with it so people can either interact with the characters in the book because you've made a digital twin for the characters, that would be so dope.
Yep.
Or interact with the author.
Well, right? I've got one right now for AI Futures, the anthology book, where we've got in a GPT, we've got the book itself, and then we've got these interviews with each of the authors. So you can go into that GPT right now and just talk about the concepts of the book, but just ask the authors, hey, Cindy Kuhn, what would you think about this? It also, it radically shifts. Right now we talk about, if you want to be good at AI, treat it like a conversation. And, it's not just like a prompt to get it back. If you're interacting with, the virtual irregulars, right, from the TikTok channel, you're going to interact with that in a very different way than if you're just interacting with ChatGPT, which is kind of this amorphous, because it's everything, it's nothing kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so when you kind of limit the scope to these digital twins, it really does put you in this place of, well, how do I want to interact with them? And what questions would I ask a virtual board of directors? I might make decisions in a very different way if I knew I had that as a resource.
Absolutely. And everybody here on this call, you should know Gwen. She's amazing, and she's absolutely the kind of friend who will remind you that you need to summarize for people and tell them and tell them, give them some takeaways. So yes, I think that it would be something like, come up with a list of questions.
Yeah, well, I would say first off, figure out who's the audience, like what's the purpose of the digital twin? Is it professional? Is it personal? Like what's your intent with it? So I would say don't just limit yourself to having one digital twin. Maybe this might be a good exercise. Maybe one is the professional one and one is the fun one. And so what would those interviews be like for, professional Kyle versus fun Kyle? So that's the start. And then, work with ChatGPT or Claude or your LLM of choice and say, I want to come up with a structured interview of 20 to 25 questions or whatever you're comfortable with. 20 to 25 questions is probably half an hour interview if you're like really answering the questions. So that's step one, get those questions and then edit them, like actually read them and see if there's anything you feel is missing and, organize them. So that it makes sense for the person answering them. The other thing you should put in there is basic, biographical information, name, job, educational background, things like that, so that your twin knows your history. And then really important is record that interview on video and ideally have some third party be there as your back channel. So when you answer a question, someone that knows you or someone that makes you push deeper, hey, that was kind of a stingy answer, dig deeper on that. Like maybe you have a side chat where you've got someone just, really watching you and you're talking to them, because you'll talk in a very different way than if you just do it yourself. Yeah. Then you take that transcript of that thing. You don't need to clean it up. This is one of the things that was, we talked before about people that expect it to behave in a certain way get really frustrated. Some people were like, well, it doesn't, say this accurately or that accurately, or I need to go in and I need to edit my... No, you don't, because it's just going to hallucinate anyway. And all it needs to capture is your essence. So that becomes the core data element of a GPT. You can also put other things in there, like things that you've written or books or links to your company, things like that. You can do that. We chose to keep these things simple and keep it just that interview because we wanted to see how they performed when we did this across a number of people. Yes. And then that's basically it. You need to write your system prompt in such a way that it kind of responds like you would respond, and you need to give it some rules like that. But that's basically it. And then it's all about, how do I use it? Where do I use it? Why would I use it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so happy that you pointed out the part about the video, because what I was doing this while I was on a road trip. I was asking I was like in my head asking a question and then just like answering it or telling life stories. And I got so bored listening to myself just talk in the car. I was like, nobody will ever want to like engage with this because I'm even bored with it. But having somebody there, it's you talk differently about your life and whatnot. With advanced voice, I would argue that you could probably do this with advanced voice and have it dynamically write the question set while you're having the conversation, because it'll record all that. Just do that in the car. That might be an interesting experiment. I think that would be really fun, and this was also before advanced voice, so it was tedious. Yeah, we've become such spoiled brats.
I know. Even I have to type something. Ugh.
I know. Okay, so Gwen, hopefully we will. Hopefully those are tactical enough that it allows people to charge ahead. And I think it's like so many other things. Just play.
That's the thing. Like yes, I could give you the prompt. Yes, I could give you the question sets, but they're not going to like. Content evolution is a very particular kind of business. How we write those questions is very particular, and how we did it for the book project was completely different. So it's really more learn the concept and then just go play with it. And also, someone said, well, I'm not comfortable putting myself out there. Then, okay, put out someone that's called, Looney Kyle, or like Looney Bob. And it's, you maybe answer some questions truthfully, but you make sure that, it's not you, it's just Looney Bob. And Looney Bob's going to have his own persona and things like that, right? So don't feel like the digital twin has to be this big, vulnerable place you go. You can make it about you, but you can also just experiment with creating these entities that you're going to interact with.
Make a character that you can then find out what the heck they would do in your story.
Yep.
Make a character that you can then find out what the heck they would do in your story.
Yep.
So 2024, we will not, Paul Rector says by the end of 2026, we're all going to be talking to our computers.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone in every office, everywhere. So yeah.
Or thinking to them.
Yes, or thinking to them, unless you're in a webinar, exactly. So, everybody, I hope you found this as fascinating as I did. I could talk to Kyle Shannon for hours and hours on end. It's fun to have a chance to actually chat back to you, because you're up on the screen, and we're all like, we have these, what is it called? The psychosocial, or the relationship that people have with people on screen.
Oh, yeah. I don't know
parasocial.
Oh, yeah, parasocial, yeah.
Yes, but nobody out there feel that way, because Kyle is a real, everyday, down-to-earth, normal human being, and you should connect with him, follow his content, join the AI Salon, and if you're looking for people to, rap with about AI, you can always hit him up, you can always hit me up. We are so here for it. We're here for you in every bit of your journey along the way. And we're learning, we're still the beginner's mindset as well. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on the show. And thank you, honestly, just for being you, because you being you is such a huge gift. And so many of us have learned from you and have been able to go on and make a difference for other people. So you're creating quite the family tree of AI nerds.
I appreciate that. You're one of, I am a fan of yours. You're one of my favorites. You've been there pretty much from the beginning of my journey. So I'm happy to do this anytime. Yeah, I hope this was valuable and useful and interesting.
Thanks, everybody. See you later. Okay. Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome.
That was really fun.
Hang on.
Thank you for demystifying digital twins for me, too. I did think that there was some magic to the questions that you were asking.
I mean, there is, like we wrote good questions. Like, if you write shitty questions, but basically you just think about it like, what information would I need for ChatGPT to kind of understand my worldview and how I would answer things and how I would talk about things and what art I like and what, how I respond to problems and just all that sort of stuff. But what's hit me is you can do that for you can make any kind of persona you want. And that I'm fascinated about, like the fun me versus because you know where I learned this, Anne? Someone on my TikTok channel, when I first launched those Content Evolution digital twins, said, "Hey, I went and played with your digital twin. It didn't know embrace the jank. It didn't know you can make money with ChatGPT." Like he was like, he felt ripped off. He's like, "That's not you. I know the you that's on TikTok." And that made me go, oh shit, so we could consciously choose, okay, so I could probably take the transcripts of my, all my TikTok lives and basically just have ChatGPT synthesize those into a nice persona that talks like I talk, right? And then I would have the TikTok version of me. So that to me, was a real eye-opener that, we have these different personas. Why not fucking design them?
Yeah.
Right?
I was just thinking about, so I'm an Enneagram 8, and along with that is, a certain set of attributes that are all, some really, really good things. But then there's, the shadow 8.
Mm-hmm.
And if I did that interview when I was in my shadow self,
yep,
versus in my, clear thinking, optimist, and I could, go back to one or the other. If I'm being an asshole currently, and I could be talking to this shadow one and be like, oh yeah, well this is so obvious that you're gonna act out. Let's see what the non-shadow 8 would do, right? You could design two different structured question sets to elicit that, and then put both of those in there, and then you could write a prompt to say, I've got my shadow self and my
enlightened self, and my shadow self serves a role, and here's the role it serves, right? And you could design that would actually think how cool that would be. You could design a GPT that every answer it gives you from both points of view.
Oh. Then I can give it to my husband and I can say, what?
Exactly. See, I told you I was right.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, hey, try that one out and see how it goes. See which Anne you're going to get today.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Kyle.
This was a blast.
I will see you again soon. And by the way, I did want to put it in the back of your mind that we could plan ahead to do something for around the holidays.
Yeah, we should probably do that again.
Yeah.
Let's figure out what we want to do. I don't think it's GPTs, but I think it's something. I think it's something, and it's like I kind of like the 24-hour thing where we're producing stuff, but let's think about that now, because I think it's that week between Christmas and New Year's is that was really fun, and it was really impactful, and so all right.
Now it's cool that. Well, anyway, yes, let's start thinking. Well, I mean, we don't need to think too far ahead because we'll just like launch it, whatever. But I definitely want to do something.
Okay. All right. Me too.
Fun. All right.
Good seeing you.
Thanks, right. Kyle.
Bye. All right. Is that done? Yeah, that's done. I close that window. Boom, 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 boom. Hi, everybody. What's happening? And now that we're alone, where are you, Kyle? I'm in my office. All right. I can close that. I'm going to get out of here. What's up? Hey, Kyle. Hi, Kyle. What's happening? All right. I got to go. My business partner just called me, so I got to go talk to her. Peace out. I'll see you later. Bye.